She's coming. She had to fill out the paperwork.
We're going to call the meeting for Akron City Council to order. At this time, we're going to ask our clerk to read in the roll.
Baylor. Aye. Connor. Aye. Freeman. Here. Fusco.
Aye.
Holland.
Aye.
Kamer.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
Mosley.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Amobian.
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
All members are present.
Thank you so much. At this time, for those who wish to voluntarily, I'm going to ask that you please stand as we are led in prayer. Immediately following our prayer, I'm going to ask if Councilman Kamer will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. At Akron City Council, in attempts to make our prayers more diverse and more representative of the community, we have decided to be real intentional in this piece, and so every single council person will have a month that they're assigned to bring diverse prayers before council. Councilman Malik was so gracious to start us off, so I know that Beth Vild is online with us, and she will be bringing forth prayer this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Somerville. Dear great Creator, bless the ecosystem of Akron. May we all know and see each other's roles throughout this community and where we must lead and follow. May we see each other's roles and respect that it takes each role to create a forest. Our large institutions that provide security and shade in harsh times, to our smaller neighborhood organizations that carpet the landscape, creating daily food and nutrients that support life. May City Council embrace its role as the great communicator like the mycelial network, like these fungi that find areas of greatest needs and bring resources from elsewhere to fill those needs. May City Council be open to hearing of these great needs and to give, and dear great Creator, please give them the creative and critical thinking skills to find real solutions. May Akron strive daily to create a green city on the hill that encourages each of us to be the best caregivers of one another and the best stewards of the city. Blessed be.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Beth. So this is a great site. We actually have all council members present with us in person. So after every vote, we will not be doing a voice roll call, okay? So the minutes from our previously held meeting have been provided. Are there any additions or corrections?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? One abstention. The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Baylor, Connor, Freeman, Fusco, Holland, Kamer, Lombardo, McKittrick, Malik, Mosley, Neal, Amobian, and Somerville. The minutes passed 12-0 with one abstention.
Before you, you have the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? One abstention. The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Baylor, Connor, Freeman, Fusco, Holland, Kamer, Lombardo, McKittrick, Malik, Mosley, Neal, Amobian, and Somerville. The consent agenda passes 12-0 with one abstention.
We do have two public hearings scheduled for this evening. Our clerk will read in item number 1.
Notice is hereby given that the following public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, June 6, 2022, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. Ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a supply yard at Midway Street, west of Home Avenue. And there is a substitute offered as an amendment that was brought in after committees today.
Mr. Antonucci?
Yes, thank you, Madam President, members of council. The petitioner, Kenmore Construction, is requesting the vacations of Midway Street, the west end of Ocean Avenue, and a portion of Scenic Way between Success Road and Annapolis Avenue. The vacated streets would be consolidated with the petitioner's adjacent properties to form a unified area. To legally establish a contractor's yard for the storage of material to be used in area construction projects. Petitioner stated that the yard would be fenced with a gated and landscaped entrance at the current Midway Street intersection. Lighting would provide additional security for the yard, and a buffer would be maintained between the storage area and the neighboring properties. Traffic into and out of the site should not substantially change from the previous use of the property, and the traffic engineer does not have any concerns. The vacation of the streets would direct the commercial traffic onto Home Avenue and isolate it from the residential uses on Success Road and Ocean Avenue. Landscape plantings would also be installed along the Home Avenue frontage. The Office of Integrated Development, Planning Staff, and Planning Commission recommend approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Antonucci. We're going to go ahead and open up our public hearing. I know that we do have the petitioner, Rick Smith, online with us. Do we have anyone else here? Okay. We do have one participant online, Mr. Rick Smith, who wishes to bring forth some comments. Do we have anyone here in the audience who wishes to speak in favor or against this proposal? Just going to ask that you please stand so that all of you can be sworn in by a member of our law department. Mr. Smith is going to ask for you to just take yourself off of mute.
Good evening, and please raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please respond by saying I do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So at this time, those who wish to speak in favor of item number 1, just going to please ask that you approach the podium. Please give us your name and your address. All of those in favor. All of those in favor of item number 1. Okay, seeing and hearing none. Those that are against item number 1.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Apostolette, and I'm also known as Reverend Pamela M. Pinckney Butts. My dad used to own property in Akron some time ago, Charles Pinckney, and my mother's attorney, Dr. Betty K. Butts Pinckney. I'm in opposition to this, and one of the reasons I was here this evening was because I'm very concerned about the rezoning and redistricting and how this is going to impact the economic class of people that are going to be impacted by this. I'm very concerned about the signage that is being represented. I'm very concerned about a lot of different issues pertaining to this, because it just shifts people around instead of meeting the needs of all people, of all classes, of all skin colors. And I'm in opposition to this because it's going to cause more devastation to poor people. It's going to cause more devastation to middle-class people. It's going to cause more devastation to people who cannot defend or represent themselves for the needs that they have that are still not being addressed. And I'll be back for other agenda items.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here in the audience who wishes to speak again?
Jeremiah Caldwell did die as a result of a construction company that destroyed his home, and his home was torn down. Jeremiah Caldwell, and I came here, and it did not get properly resolved. Therefore, this will be another disaster. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak against this proposal? Seeing and hearing none. Oh, Mr. Rick Smith, who's online with us?
Yes, thank you. I have questions on the how the ferns and also the landscaping is going to be done around the Ocean Avenue. I own a residence. It's 671 and 673 Ocean Avenue, and I was concerned, it backs up to that property, and I was concerned about whether there'd be an improvement of landscaping in that area to at least give a buffer between the residential parts of of Ocean Avenue and also the construction allotment. So if someone could answer that for me, I would appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Smith. So we'll make sure that you get answers to those questions.
My name is Christopher Brooks, and I live at 690 Success with my wife, Kelly Brooks. We strongly are against this. A little history to our family. This house has been in her side of the family for at least 50 years, I want to say. We are in the process of things finally coming together. Our last child has just graduated college, so I've always wanted to build our final home right there. That way I don't have to move somewhere and pay $500,000 for what we want, and then we could still retire within a timely manner. Her mom, my mother-in-law, has already had issues with this council and Kenmore Construction. There's a long-dated history going back to when Kenmore first used our backyard as a dumping site for the first Route 8 expansion that you see in between Exchange and I think 59. All of that dirt was excavated and then dumped literally in, Wayne is my neighbor, we are on the north side of we're on the south side of the street, right? We're on the south side of Success. So our two properties, we literally, between the two of us, own that side of the street. Besides, the corner property is owned by a law office who doesn't care whatever happens with his property. So we, back then, they had all this dirt so high, it was a zoning violation. It collapsed and slid through my mother-in-law's fence into her boat, into the shed, destroyed all of it. Kenmore, I love Kenmore Construction. I'll be the first to say they are the Cadillac of the construction industry. They took care of everything, but it still didn't, they did knock down the pile back then. This would have been in the early 2000s or the late 90s, approximate right there, because the pile was too high. And then they had to create a gully so that when it does slide, it doesn't destroy, it doesn't come into our land, and then dig out all that did slide out, which they did do, which he has maintained for the most part. But now we have humongous piles of Route 8, which is what he is doing. He is taking the old cement that they pulled off of Route 8 on this expansion, and he's dumping it and then busting it down right there. You guys are calling this a supply yard. It's anything but. He is reusing all the products from Earth, all this concrete, all this dust. None of us, I know me and Wayne, we can't open windows. It cannot be done. Because if we do, it is a layer of dust in our house. I washed my car yesterday. Today, I could literally write my name in it. My car has been parked in my driveway since last night and this morning. It hasn't even been parked at home yet this evening. There's a layer of dust on it. I'm more concerned about my health because of this gravel pile in my backyard, essentially, that has to be at least today 60 feet high. Not to mention, he has raised the elevation on Midway Street over the years, and whenever he finally decided to just recently move that pile of dirt from the first Route 8 expansion 20 years ago, he just dug all that out to do exactly what he's done. So now what me and Wayne see out of our backyard is these concrete barriers that separate his piles of sand, of gravel, of pulverized gravel. It's all different grades and all used to supply highway asphalt, which is at the corner of Home Avenue and Talmadge Avenue. The damage to Home Avenue's roads is ridiculous. I mean, you can't use the right lane going down Home Avenue because of the destruction from the highway trucks. Lights, I mean, we already have to deal with the dealership across the street and how bright that is. Now you want to let this guy put in these floodlights in my backyard, essentially, so that he can light up his access road. They're working well past 8 o'clock at night. I mean, they were out there last night, all night, okay, with machinery that shakes the very core of your house. Our house in the last year has shifted well over an inch the wrong way. It's no mystery where it comes from. It's because he's running D10 dozers 60 feet from my house for 8 hours a day. My concern is I'm breathing this dust. His workers are wearing masks, or should be. This is in my neighborhood. This is what we have to live with. I realize it's only a few of us on Sussex Road, and it really doesn't, as far as the access point, doesn't really impede me. I don't travel that way anyways. You can't, because they've let the road, again, you can't even access Midway right now because, and use the circle to my street, because Kenmore has created a car-sized crater in the center of a public road. And then you guys let them put in these 6-foot concrete barriers that basically choke the whole road off. He doesn't even own that property, I don't think. I'm just really upset with what the city of Akron is allowing Mr. Scala and Kenmore Construction to really do to this little neighborhood, which is quite the success on Success Road, actually, for what few neighbors we have. That's my concern.
Thank you.
That's why we are definitely against it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hi, Wayne Horak, 682 Success Road. I too obviously am against it. I'm standing here. So what we're talking about is switching a UPD 24 zoning, which strictly prohibits outside storage of gravel, to a full-blown gravel yard without any protections to the neighbors whatsoever. I'm very concerned about my property value when it comes to that. I watched the 1 o'clock meeting, and I'm kind of amazed that we don't even know what size fence is going on here. I would imagine that before it came to council, we should know what size fence is going to go around this property. Now, the fencing is not my main concern. Kenmore's going to put up a fence. He doesn't want to run over children and people. He doesn't want people in his property. But why wasn't that in the application? Why wasn't that spoken about? I mean, it seems odd that this afternoon's meeting, they couldn't even present what size fence they're going to put in. I provided a photograph of a house on Ocean Avenue, and it should all be in your packets. I sent it on Friday. The house is completely dwarfed by this gravel pile. It's a single-family ranch house. It's on Ocean, and the gravel pile is literally equal to the height of it, if not taller. And it's on the next lot, which is a currently zoned single family at this point. The lot that it has the gravel pile on is currently zoned single family. With that being said, you know, I did a little research on general standards for applications of conditional uses. And if council is taking favorable action on the proposal, this is what it says: shall find adequate evidence that the use, and I'm going to skip a few, but just only the ones that I think will apply, will not be hazardous or disturbing to future or existing uses. Will not involve uses, activities, procedures, materials, equipment, and conditions of operation that will be detrimental to any person or property or the general welfare by reason of excessive production of traffic, noise, dust, or it does not say dust, smoke, fumes, glare, or odors, but we could probably throw dust in there too. Will be designed, constructed, operated, and maintained so to be harmonious and appropriate in appearance with the existing or intended character of the general vicinity and will not change the essential character of the same area. This is a single-family neighborhood, and we have mountains of gravel that are at least 15 feet tall. I think it changes the essential character of the neighborhood. I went and I have the, this is the Akron City Planning Commission meeting of April 15th, 2022 on this, and I want to read a sentence out of here. One goal of the Land Use and Development Guide Plan is to appropriately landscape and maintain open space buffers between noxious industries and sound residential neighborhoods. So I'm just a carpenter, so I looked up a noxious, what is the definition of noxious, and it's poisonous. So we're talking about putting a poisonous business into a residential neighborhood. It's right straight through their whole residential neighborhood. If you do decide to go ahead and give this to him, what I'm concerned again about is my property value, and Kenmore is requesting to vacate streets that are 50 feet wide. We should have at least a 25-foot setback on either side of the street, or on either side of this project, surrounding this project. If we're going to give him 50 feet, he should give us 25 feet of setback. And if you're thinking about approving this, my yard is 6 feet lower than his yard. So if you put up a 6-foot fence, I'm looking at the bottom of his gravel pile will be at the top of that fence. So we need to, I would ask that his fence be at the higher elevation and not at the lower elevation. And that maybe considering dense planting to stop the dust from destroying our houses and to mitigate noise. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
No, thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Thompson. I live at 676 Ocean Avenue. I've lived on Ocean Avenue for about 10 years on one side or the other. Slowly over the years, Kenmore Construction has gotten more and more work, which means more and more ground shaking and more machines at any hours, honestly. I'm worried about giving them this okay and them pushing closer to my property. They own the property, butts right up next to my garage. It's touching. So what I'm afraid of is they say it's just for storage, but they're going to move those ground shaking machines and everything closer and closer. The foundation of my house, just in the last couple of years, after they've really geared up on working, has started to sink down like this. It shakes things off tables and off walls, and this is with it back further. So I'm just really afraid that, you know, you give an inch, they take a mile kind of thing, where they will move a lot of these machineries up closer, and I don't think my house could take it, honestly. And then last time we were here back in April, they said that they put in a roundabout at the end of my street. It's like, looks like a little 2-car parking like driveway that you could maybe turn around in. And at the time I said, well, there's cones there, so people are using my driveway to turn around because it's right next to it. And I was told, no, the cones aren't there. Well, let me tell you, they're still there currently. I could literally have somebody like send video of it right now. There's cones, they're still there. They have not been moved since last time. My driveway is still being used because of the way they have the end of the road blocked off, so to speak. Let's see what else. Yeah, the fencing thing, it's like maybe if they had some sort of like the highway has with like the noise canceling barriers, tall ones potentially, but no one has come and talked to us since the last hearing. I was waiting for a knock on the door or something, just, you know, we can talk, maybe work this out. No one's come to talk to me. My house is the very last house on the left. It's like I said, I butt up, I'm touching their like property to property, and no one has come to discuss anything with me. So it just, to me, that's, you know, like you say, you know, you want to make things better, and, you know, I understand what they're trying to get at, but if you don't talk to the people who you're intruding on, you're not going to get very far. It's all about working together to see if we can find compromise. So, yeah, I think that's all I really have, so thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there anyone else here? Yep, you can approach the podium.
Good evening. My name is Willardine Strong. I live at 697 Ocean Avenue. I built the house in 1970. I moved in January 1971. I've seen good homes tore down. I had to go to threaten them in court because I let them use my water when they were tearing these houses down. They have brought in since then mounds of dirt that made a hill. Groundhogs and rats, rodents, whatever, they're plentiful. It's just like something in a movie. You would see them have a mountain and put grass seeds over to make a mountain, which the mountain wasn't there. I can go outside and I can sit in my car and see the tall mounds of gravel that they brought in. My car can't stay clean either. It's all dusty on the inside. I talked to our not most recent ward councilman, Bruce Kilby. He had Kenmore Construction remove all of those gravels, which has asbestos in them, which will cause cancer. I'm surprised a lot of more people are not sick on our street. If they are, they haven't let us know, the people that live there. I sit in and see this mounds of dirt the gravel keep bringing it in. It's not safe for us. You can talk to any chemist about those rocks. The gravel, I told my daughter, I can use gravel in my driveway. Sacrifice and get you some cement or something that won't give you fumes to try to kill you later. What happens when they put all those mounds of dirt there and we're breathing that stuff? What's going to happen? I'm thankful to the Lord I live to be 84. But how many other people is going to reach my age or have any conception? I've talked to Mr. Lombardi. I've called him because they had weeds that had grown up to be trees that they had to come and remove from side of my fence. I won't even have a new fence painted or put up there because they weren't maintaining it. I saw them out there today. They were out there today cutting them. But it's not a good thing. It is a health matter. And it's going to make kids not grow too. It's going to be a health issue. And it's making our property value go down. Nobody want to buy that because they got all of this stones and different mountains of dirt behind us. When Bruce Kilby was our ward councilman, Kenmore Construction moved all of that gravel from the end of Ocean Avenue and put it somewhere, but it wasn't there. And all at once, it's back. And it's more than just 1 or 2 mounds. And I'm afraid for health reasons. I want to live as long as the Lord allows me. But if nobody's saying anything and letting them have their way, and they are not giving me no problem. But it's the fact is, they could cause me to have cancer. That's what I'm concerned with.
Thank you so much.
Hello, I'll keep this short. My name is Joey Batong. My father lives and owns a house at 677 Ocean Avenue. I grew up there and moved away to Stowe, but my dad still lives at that property. He's actually just got home from out of town, so he wasn't able to come today, but I told him I'd come speak for him. The last meeting we had, there was a gentleman that mentioned that he thought it would be a good idea that there was a communication problem between Kenmore Construction and the residents around the neighborhood. He thought it may be a good idea that we set up some type of meeting or they come out and talk to us about what was going to be happening. That never happened. My dad has been waiting for a letter in the mail to see there was going to be a meeting between the people who live in the area and Kenmore Construction. That never happened. There was two gentlemen here last time that were from Kenmore Construction. I thought that was the plan, but again, it never happened. There was no meeting, there was no communication, nobody stopped out at anybody's houses. At least they didn't stop at mine. I don't think they stopped at anybody else's. So, real quick, my family, my dad bought that house over 40 years ago, grew up in that neighborhood. There was a bunch of other houses. Back then, the company stayed at the bottom of the street, and they had two nice fields behind Success and Ocean Avenue that were just fields, but they slowly have moved all the way up to both fields. They got rid of the grass. They're, like they said, it's piles of rocks and dirt. It slowly went downhill. If you drive back there, the cement's got huge chunks missing out of it. It's pretty bad. It's just they don't take care of it like they used to. I guess my concern is my family knew, my dad knew at least, and I'm sure some of these other people know, when they bought that house that the company was there. That it's not like it popped up after we moved there. They knew it was there. My concern is they say they're going to build these fences and make it look nice and put a barrier around it, is the quality of work that they're going to do there. The lady there mentioned that they put a cul-de-sac next to her house, which they did. I do have pictures that were taken from today that still show the cones up, but it's the quality of work they did. They took a bulldozer, they just knocked a couple trees down, they moved some dirt around, and then they put blacktop. There's no curb. When they did it, they dug up a bunch of stuff, and there's just plastic and trash all over that field from when they did that. I don't know where it came from, but there's trash everywhere. So my concern is if they do put fences around the property that they have, it sounds like a good idea. Sounds like it may look nice and keep people from going in there, but I think I'm more concerned at the quality of work that they're going to do. I think they're just going to, excuse my language, but half-ass it and throw it up, and there's going to be trash everywhere. My dad, he tries to keep his yard nice, and so do some of the other people in the neighborhood. They try to keep their yards looking nice. They don't have huge properties or small properties. If you go to my dad's backyard, you look out, I have a picture, you look out his backyard and you're staring at cement. They're barriers for like expressways. They stacked them, I think, 2 or 3 high, and it's got to be at least 9 feet high. That's what you look out as backyard. So if you want to sit outside and enjoy a nice day, you're staring at a concrete block, and most of the time you're listening to construction and you're fighting with the dust. So I guess I don't think any of us think that when we leave here that Kenmore Construction is going to take up and close their business down. I don't think that's going to happen. It's a business, and I don't think they're going anywhere. But I think what needs to be looked at, I guess, is if they're going to do what they're saying they're going to do, what kind of work are we going to get? Is it going to be quality, or is it going to look terrible and there's going to be trash and they're just going to, again, excuse the language, half-ass it? I guess that's my concern. Thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you so much.
Hello, my name's Eric Pierce. I live at 669 Success, and honestly, there's not a whole lot I can tell you that hasn't already been spoken about as far as the air pollution, the dust, basically the blatant will of Kenmore to do anything that they want, and then after 3 years of having a storage area over there, ask for you guys to change the zoning. That doesn't really seem right. You know, we're all trying to live and have the peaceful environment that we work for, pay taxes for, and, well, we're asking you guys for your help. You know, literally, my family extended, that is, has 10 lots on that road. Wayne Horak being part of that extended family. My other brother has 3 lots on that road. There's a total of 14 lots that have the access of, someone owning it, and they're all here. There's 3 families from Ocean. Unfortunately, the other ones couldn't come. I don't know anyone here that would want to wake up every morning to the sound of, a dump truck going down your road, blowing smoke everywhere, let alone have a fence that, okay, how are you going to fence in a rock pile 60 feet high? And then the spotlights that are going to be there, do you guys want that in your backyard? It used to be a giant hill blocking Kenmore's area from at least, the side on Success. 3 years ago, they started putting gravel there. And we are going for rezoning now, right? That's what it's going for, but it's been a storage yard for 3 years. Yeah, it doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem like justice is being done for us. So I'm asking you guys to help out. I know Kenmore is going to take the rock piles down, but we don't need more. We don't need them to try and put a Band-Aid on a laceration. It's not going to work. So please help out. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Scott Vallejos. I own 1660 Scenic Way at the bottom of the hill. I was here this afternoon. I understood there was going to be an added sentence or two where they would be required to open up the end of Success so that my businesses can survive down there with large tractor trailers getting in and out. I don't like the idea that they're going to run through the neighborhood, but if they close midway, I won't have another option. If that got added to the amendment, then I'm fine. If it hasn't, then I'm protesting again. But if it's been added, since I haven't seen it, I just wanted to voice it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jermaine Grandison, and I'm at 693 Ocean Avenue. And my mother pretty much said everything that I would want to say. But my concern is I have health issues really bad. And my concern is the foundation in my home has shifted, and since all this stuff has been going on, I'm wondering why the electric is going out in our neighborhood at least, at least 3 times a week. I have a sleep apnea machine that I have to have, okay? And if I have that on and that electric is going out at any given time, people are my life is being jeopardized. And I don't understand, and it's not always accidents or the weather, which, they pretty much use that as an excuse, but loud noises. It's like I told my mother, every night I hear boom, and I'm like, what is that? And I don't know if it's my house or what, but I've had the 3 plumbers come out to my home because the sewer was backed up in my basement. And I don't understand all of a sudden now, I live alone, so I don't understand how all of a sudden now, all this stuff is happening with my home. I can't keep my car clean like everyone else said. My back deck faces all those big brick cylinder things or whatever you want to call them. Kids were playing out there a couple weeks ago, and I said, get down, get down. They were up there playing, and they could easily fall down inside of one of those things. And the gravel and like my mom said, it is all types of, like raccoons, possums, chipmunks, whatever. They're just running rapid in our backyard. And my fence is right there where everything is stored. My mom's garage is right there with all those big mounds of dirt, gravel, where the grass then grew on top of half of the stuff. It's just, they're not concerned about people's health. And I'm afraid that my house is probably going to end up falling over because I hear cracks that I've never heard before in the middle of the night. Then they start in the morning with all this big loud noise, machinery. I thought it was a certain time they're supposed to start working, but it's unbearable. You can't rest. And my concern is that I'm just hoping that they do something before everyone loses their home, because like my mom says, she built our home, and when I divorced, I moved next to her. So it's, you know, I want to continue to stay there and watch her and enjoy my home. So hopefully they'll get something done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Catherine Bartlett. I live at 671 Ocean Avenue. My concern really is the dust, the noise. It's ridiculous. They have earth pounding machines that shake the ground, shake my cupboard, shake pictures off walls. My backyard, I have lane dividers stacked. That's my view in my backyard. I had asthma when I first moved in here. I now have COPD. I'm really concerned about my grandchildren who also live in this neighborhood. They're going to be hard pressed to get a city trash truck to turn around in their alleged roundabout. What about snow plows? How are those going to turn around in that little bitty area? I don't see how it's going to work. I really don't. You need to revisit this and really think about it. Trash trucks and snow plows have specific routes that they have to take. And if you block off those roads, we're not going to get a snow plow. How's that going to help us? The noise, the dirt, it's ridiculous. We shouldn't have to put up with it. Please, please help us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else here in the audience who wishes to speak against this ordinance? Anyone else who wishes to speak against? So seeing and hearing none, we're going to go ahead. We're going to close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco, what is the committee's pleasure?
Thanks, President Somerville. I'd like to poll the committee for time. Kamer? Aye. Connor?
Aye.
Baylor? Mosley? Aye. Thank you. The request of committees for time. I would like to invite everyone who's attended here this evening, after the meeting is over, what we'll do is we'll convene over, there's a conference room over here. After the meeting's over, Mr. Lombardo is willing to meet. I myself will be there as well. And Mr. Antonucci from our planning department will meet with you, and we will discuss everything that's been brought up. Okay? Thank you all for coming by this evening and attending, and for your input. We certainly appreciate that. Thank you. What we're doing is taking time. We're not voting on it tonight. Okay? Thank you.
Notice is hereby given that the following public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, June 6, 2022, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. Ordinance authorizing a conditional use to replace a high-rise sign at 1490 Vernon Odom Boulevard.
Mr. Antonucci.
Thank you, Madam President, members of council. Mike Vandeveer is proposing to install a new high-rise digital changeable copy sign at this location to replace the original LED sign that was conditionally approved in 2009. The property contains a showroom building with asphalt paved vehicle display areas and parking. Petitioner is requesting to replace the existing 15 feet by 15 feet or 225 square foot pole sign at the northeastern corner of the property with a 20 foot by 21 foot 2-inch pole sign at the same location. The replacement sign would still be built to a height of 70 feet, though it would necessitate being mounted on a double poled structure. The digital sign would be used to advertise virtual sales, promotions, and products available on the petitioner's premises. The digital messages would remain static for a period of at least 8 seconds before changing. Over the past several years, the Planning Commission and City Council have approved electronic billboards and high-rise signs near expressway interchanges for various businesses. Although the upgrade of the proposed sign is an 88% increase of the original sign, the petitioner has made a substantial investment at their location, maintains a viable business, and is seeking to appeal to and preserve local buyers, especially since the pandemic. The proposed LED high-rise sign provides for additional means of communicating with the motoring public and would enable a long-standing and successful local car dealer to increase their chances for long-term success. And the Office of Integrated Development, Planning Staff, and Planning Commission recommend approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to go ahead and open up our public hearing. Do we have anyone here in the audience who wishes to speak in favor or against? Just going to ask that you please stand so that you may be sworn in by a member of our law department.
Good evening. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please respond by saying I do. I declare. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to open up our public hearing with those who are in favor.
Good evening, everybody. My name is John Swansinger. I'm with Buckingham Doolittle. I represent Vanderveer Chevrolet. With me is Mike Vanderveer and Tom Yankovic. They are back there. To possibly answer any questions if they need to testify on some more technical issues, if anybody would have any. We really appreciate the Planning Commissions and Mr. Antonucci, appreciate your comments and concur entirely that this business is one that has been there for decades. It's been an exceptional business citizen of the community. It's trying to stay competitive in the new market by getting more digital. The old sign was only 12, 13 years old, but it's time to keep pushing forward. So we obviously request this to be approved, and Mr. Antonucci's summary is quite adequate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
Thank you. I'm Mike Vanderveer, and our family's been in the business since 1946, and been a family business. We employ about 350 people with our business, and we'd like to continue to serve Akron and to contribute to it. I'm the third generation, and I have 6 sons in the business. My challenge is that we now have publicly traded companies that are trying to move in and move people to buying vehicles from publicly traded companies that have nothing to do with Akron. And for my viability, we're asking this because it helps increase our exposure and hopefully encourage people to continue to invest and purchase their vehicles in the Akron area. We also offer service, which a lot of these other companies that are publicly traded don't do. So I believe we have a great product, and we're trying to sustain that. So I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Tom Yankovic. I'm with Ellett Sign Company, 3041 East Waterloo Road, Akron, Ohio, 44312. The display is an upgrade. It's an upgrade from what's there. It's really crisp. It's better than the old display. It's better viewing capabilities, but it's larger display to be better visible for motorists, and it will also stay within the code limitations of nothing flashing, nothing moving, nothing distracting. It's just a clear, nice upgrade from what the current display is. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Do we have anyone here in the audience who wishes to speak against?
Once again, I'm Apostle at Reverend Pamela and Pinckney Butts. I am strongly against this legislation for a lot of different reasons. First of all, Council President and Chief Millett and everyone present, it's time for an upgrade, a community upgrade. It's time for signage to stop oppressing the poor, murdering the middle class, and robbing the rich. It's time to go from normal to the supernatural. I'm familiar with the Vanderveer group and such. I'm also familiar with the fact that the construction company we just got through speaking of and the Vanderveer Corporation is not held accountable for the lives of the people in the community, because the Vanderveers and that Kenmore Construction can take their money and go out to their communities and not be held accountable for the needs of the people. The Vanderveer company is not doing things for people in the community who have come out of life, whether it be homelessness or whether it be domestic violence or whether it be some other form of life, because people have more minds on their money than the morals and the values of people's homes. I would like to see what the signage would display, Council President, because the signage up until now across this country is racist, it's oppressive, and it promotes violence, and it also does not give balance in the economic spectrum of things. What are these people going to do with someone who can't afford a car because of a natural disaster, because of homelessness, because of something? Are they willing to give something into the community in which they are in? Because the community they're in, it's not an upscale, wealthy community. And most of all, it's probably, and I won't say probably, it's a black community or people who are not white. And I'm tired of wealthy white America going into black communities, non-white communities, profiting and not pouring anything back into it, and then having the law to support that. I'm against this, and I won't go into preacher mode because I can, because it's in the word that what is taking place in this legislation is very wrong. It does nothing for women. We are still in the battle where we don't even get the fair and equal opportunity for loans for cars, let alone cars, etc. It's not fair to our young people, because no one wants to give accountability to Kenmore Construction Company, who the life of Jeremiah Caldwell was taken. And these people are here talking today about their concern about their health and welfare, and then we have Vanderveer, where there's no accountability. I am a member of the Coalition for a Safe Community, which the founder is Attorney John Sharp. And this group is concerned about small black businesses who need grants and funding, but Vanderveer can get money and do whatever they want to do. I'm also the author of this book called Choose Life, because every life matters. And I hope you don't just let people come here and talk just because it's right for people to talk. We want some conversations and some communication, not just public comment. We want you to communicate with us, and thank you, sir, for what you said you're going to do, because I have a lot I'd like to talk to you about, because Emmanuel Bay and that family is suffering because Kenmore Construction went in there and destroyed that man's home and he died. I thank you, Council President. I thank you, Chief Millett, because there is so much that is not right. And I thank the legislators for taking the time to even consider the idea and the concept of this, but it's not a good decision. Thank you. And if anybody from Vanderbilt wants to talk to me, my number is 330-366-2728. I'll have a conversation with you, but I demand that you do the community right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pinckney. At this time, what we're going to do is we're going to close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco, what is the committee's pleasure?
Thank you. I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report. Mr. Kamer? Aye. Connor? Aye. Baylor? Aye. Mosley? Thank you. The report of the committee is favorable.
Madam Chair?
Councilman Freeman.
If I may.
Yes.
I just want to rise. After everything I've just heard, I feel I need to stand up and say, the Vanderveer family has been a real asset to that part of town. They took a business that had been there a long time, but definitely needed some upgrade, pumped millions of dollars into that business, have been good business partners, have been caring folks, and I'm just pleased to see that we're passing this evening.
Councilman Lombardo.
Thank you, Madam President. Same here. I'm glad you spoke up because, yes, the Vanderveer family does pour money into the community, okay? They give thousands to the schools, and one example here, donate cars so the schools can fundraise, and then they could, have successful programs, whatever they may be. That's one example for Vanderveer. One example for Kenmore, after the house fire on North Hill, called me, wanted to donate or buy hundreds of smoke alarms so the Nepali community or the Asian community can, safely, protect their homes. So that's not right, what you said. They are,
I'm going to ask for order in the chamber, and I'm also going to ask that Councilman Lombardo, you reflect your comments to me as the chair, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. So both companies do give back to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there another comment, Councilman Fusco?
Yeah, back to the zoning, the recommendation of the planning department and the planning commission was favorable. There is 3 conditions that we are asking the petitioner to meet, and I know the ward council representative is in favor of this as well. So given that, we're asking for approval this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Baylor, Connor, Freeman, Fusco, Holland, Kamer, Lombardo, McKittrick, Malik, Mosley, Neal, Amobian, Somerville, and the ordinance passes 13-0.
We will continue with our old business, planning and economic development. Councilman Fusco.
Thank you, President Somerville. The committee's going to ask for time on 3, 4, and 5. Oh, I apologize. And 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then the committee's going to ask to file 10. That was the petition of the conditional use we had just voted on. And then we're going to take time on 11 and 12. And the wishes of the committee is favorable. And we're asking for passage of item 13. This, in fact, this is the Dan Street area in which we had public hearing on May 9th. And the discussion was around existing land uses and updating the particular area in reference to land uses and the code here. So we're recommending passage of item 13.
Okay. Committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Baylor, Connor, Freeman, Fusco, Holland, Kamer, Lombardo, McKittrick, Malik, Mosley, Neal, Amobian, Somerville, and the ordinance passes 13-0.
Time on the balance.
Okay. Time will be granted. Public Service, Councilwoman Mosley.
Thank you, Madam President. Time on 1, file 2 and 3.
Okay, thank you so much. That concludes our old business. We'll now move into new legislation.
Item number 1, offered by Freeman. Ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent to issue purchase orders without the formality of advertising for bids for the upgrade of existing City of Akron-owned Motorola XT radios with LLA link layer authentication and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Freeman,
Committee report's favorable, and we are asking for suspension of the rules.
are there any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. Sometime back, Columbus had issued some new rules about safety communication radios. So we need software upgrades to the radios that we have. This legislation will allow those upgrades to be pushed out to the users of those radios, and with that, we ask for its passage.
Okay, thank you so much. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Baylor, Connor, Freeman, Fusco, Holland, Kamer, Lombardo, McKittrick, Malik, Mosley, Neal, Amobian, Somerville, and the ordinance passes 13-0. Item number 2 is offered by Fusco. Ordinance approving the 2022 Consolidated Annual Action Plan, including applications and certifications for the Community Development Block Grant, Community Development, the Home Investment Partnership, and Emergency Solutions Grant programs, authorizing the Director of Planning and Urban Development to enter into all necessary contracts for the operation and term of the programs, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
Refer.
This item will be referred.
Item number 3, offered by Fusco. Ordinance amending, supplementing Title 15, Chapter 153 Zoning Code, Section 153.566, Class UPD 33 District, to allow limited access to West Bath Road from Ascot Industrial Park and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
Refer.
This item will also be referred.
Item number 4, offered by Fusco, ordinance authorizing the acquisition of parcel number 6748375 from the Summit County Land Bank and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 5, offered by Fusco, ordinance accepting a dedication plat for Ascot Parkway Extended and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Refer.
This item will be referred.
Item number 6, offered by Fusco, ordinance authorizing the acquisition by donation of parcel number 32-052300 in Geauga County, Ohio for watershed purposes and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 6A, offered by President Somerville and Vice President Fusco, ordinance amending and/or supplementing Title I, Chapter 11, Sections 11.01 through and including 11.11 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Akron, Ohio, by subdividing the city into wards in conformity with the 2020 Federal Census and Akron Charter, Section 28A, to be effective for the municipal primary election to be held on May 2nd, 2023, repealing existing Sections 11.01 through and including 11.11 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Akron, Ohio on the effective date of the new ward boundaries, authorizing the Director of Law to have prepared a more detailed map and/or description of said wards as shown by Exhibit A and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Refer.
This item will be referred.
Item number 7, offered by Mosley, ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent or director of public service to enter into a contract or contracts to replace the roof of Municipal Service Center Building 1B and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Mosley.
Thank you, Madam President. Consent agenda, please.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 8, offered by Mosley, ordinance determining to proceed with the improvement of East Exchange Street between the termini of Arc Drive and Fountain Street by paving, grading, constructing and reconstructing curbs, concrete sidewalks and driveway approaches, installing storm sewers, sanitary sewers, water mains and street lighting, and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Mosley.
Consent, please.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 9, offered by Mosley, ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets between certain termini, 2021, Phase 1 Arterial Collector Program by resurfacing such streets with asphalted concrete 402-404 and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Mosley.
Consent agenda.
This item will also be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 10, offered by Mosley, ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets between certain termini, 2021 Phase 1 Partial Depth Pavement Replacement Program by repaving such streets with asphalted concrete 402-404 and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Mosley.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 11, offered by Mosley, ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets between certain termini, 2021 Phase 1 Residential Resurfacing Program by resurfacing such streets with asphalted concrete 402-404 and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Mosley.
Consent.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 12, offered by Mosley, ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets between certain termini, 2021 Phase 1 Unimproved Street Resurfacing Program by treating the surface thereof with substances designed to preserve the surface and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Mosley.
Consent agenda.
This item will also be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 13, offered by Freeman, ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee, after publicly advertising for bids, to enter into a contract or contracts for the replacement of water mains owned and operated by the City of Akron on 13th Street Southwest, Albert Place, Avondale Drive, Charlotte Street, DeWitt Drive, Forsum Avenue, Gold Street, Nickel Street, North Valley Street, Noah Avenue, South Main Street, Schumacher Avenue, Silver Street, Springfield Center Road, and Sundale Road as part of the water main replacement program and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Freeman.
Consent, please.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 14, offered by Mayor Horrigan, resolution approving and confirming the appointment of James Drake and Richard Decatur to the Police Towing Review Board and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules, please.
Are there any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. This is to appoint 2 former law enforcement officers to the Towing Review Board. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. So the rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 1 abstention. The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Baylor, Connor, Freeman, Fusco, Holland, Kamer, Lombardo, McKittrick, Malik, Mosley, Neal, Amobi, and Somerville. It passes 12-0 with 1 abstention. Item number 14A is offered by Mayor Horrigan, Vice President Fusco, Councilman McKittrick, Councilwoman Holland, and Councilman Malik. Resolution expressing opposition to Ohio House Bill 99, which would authorize teachers to carry firearms in classrooms with minimal training and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. Obviously, we have a few sponsors on this piece of resolution. I'm not sure if any of them have any words to say.
Okay. Councilman Fusco?
Thank you, President. Thank you, Mr. Kamer. I was curious how history is going to view this time in the United States. Real curious about that because the numbers are extremely high in terms of polls that you read about reasonable gun legislation and what the United States would like to see is reasonable gun legislation. And maybe let's continue to hope that the feds are going to do something about it in terms of reasonableness. You know, that's how we're going to be viewed. Just a couple weeks ago, I saw in a local paper that has a circulation. This is what we see in the paper here. And thank goodness that they are. This advertiser is selling gun lockers, which is awesome, and that's great. But also within this, you can also acquire those assault rifles that we hear so much about. And I don't think anyone wants to take anyone's gun. Just reasonableness. But now with this one, what we're hearing and understanding is that now, as a result of what had happened in Texas, is that we're now going to purchase more guns and put them in classrooms. Just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. And so from what I understand, I think the last report we got was the governor did not sign this. In all likeliness, he will sign this. But I think as a council, we should stand up and make our voices known in terms of this wrong-headed idea, and that, you know, this is our time to let folks know where we stand on this, again, wrong-headed idea. There was a poll here I noticed too in 2018 of teachers that 73% of teachers oppose guns in the classroom, and 58% of teachers think guns in schools makes schools less safe. I think it all makes sense to oppose this, but apparently it may end up going forward, and so we could just hope and ask the governor not to sign it. So that's what we're doing here. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilwoman Holland?
Thank you, Madam President. House Bill 99, which passed in the General Assembly last Wednesday, asks the unthinkable. It asks that our school teachers, who have, at the same time, maybe the most important job there is, and also one of the hardest jobs, to serve as educators and as school safety personnel. And they ask that these good people do this under the most impossible of circumstances, with gun training that caps at 24 hours. All experts agree that this is insufficient, but it's more than insufficient, it's dangerous. This is a landscape that can only lead to tragedy. I would join and echo my colleague, Councilman Fusco's remarks, and would simply ask that tonight and always, as we've done for many, many months, we act as a council to support the noble job of teachers, that we act to keep students and teachers as safe as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman McKittrick, did you have any comments? No? Okay. All right, so the rules have been suspended. Do I have a motion?
Can I have a motion for council as a whole?
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Baylor, Connor, Freeman, Fusco, Holland, Kamer, Lombardo, McKittrick, Malik, Mosley, Neal, Amobi, and Somerville. The resolution passes 12-1. Item number 14B, offered by Kamer. Ordinance reaffirming, amending, and/or supplementing portions of Titles 9, 11, and 13 of the Akron Codified Ordinances in order to effectively reassert the ban on discharging, igniting, or exploding fireworks within the city of Akron and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer?
Thank you. Committee's report is time, but I also would like to mention that there are other co-sponsors on this, and that's Councilman McKittrick, Mosley, and Holland.
Okay, thank you so much. Time will be granted.
Item 14C, offered by Kamer, ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with Flock Group Incorporated for the purchase and/or lease of equipment, hardware, and software services necessary for the deployment of license plate reader technology in the city as part of a citywide public safety project, including the off-campus housing area south of the University of Akron's campus, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer?
Thank you, Madam President. Committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none?
Thank
the
you,
rules
Madam.
have been suspended. I do see Councilman Neal's hand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize. This afternoon, I wasn't able to get on. I just, I'm not sure if we've given the public enough opportunity to have input. I'll let you know. I myself, with all this going on, I understand the reason for this, and personally, I'm willing to put aside my big brother fears because of all this going on. But out of respect for my constituents that called me with a lot of concern, I would like for them to be able to have some input, and I just don't know if we've given them that opportunity.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam President. Over the course of the several weeks, we've had Chief Capers reach out to almost every single council member here to have those discussions, to speak about this project. There was also an article in our local newspaper about this a few weeks ago. This is basically a citywide public safety project here in the city of Akron, contracting with Flock to install these necessary cameras on poles throughout the city, and I think it will help us catch and go after any suspects that commit criminal activity. So with that, we're asking for passage.
Okay, thank you so much. And then also, Councilman Neal, our chief did give us the commitment today to make sure that we have some community education around it. Okay, is there anything else, any other comments at this time? So we do have, our rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? One abstention. The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Baylor, Connor, Freeman, Fusco, Holland, Kamer, Lombardo, McKittrick, Malik, Mosley, Neal, Amobi, and Somerville. Passes 12-0 with one abstention. Item number 15 is offered by Lombardo and McKittrick. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee, after publicly advertising for bids, to enter into a contract or contracts to convert 2 of the existing tennis courts located at Davenport Park into pickleball courts, authorizing the expenditure of funds and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lombardo?
Consent agenda.
Thank you so much. This item will be placed on the consent agenda. That does conclude our new legislation for this evening. We'll now go to the portion of our meeting that we refer to as our public comment period. Just going to ask when you hear your name, please approach the podium, give us your name and your address. You will have 3 minutes to speak to this body. Speakers are reminded that this is an official meeting. Your remarks should be kept respectful and germane to council business. Anyone who breaches decorum will be ruled out of order and may be removed from council chambers. So before we begin, I'm just going to ask all of those who are participating if you can please stand so that you can be sworn in by a member of our law department.
Good evening. At this point, you've heard the oath several times, so do you understand that do you swear or affirm that everything you're about to say is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please respond by saying I do. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Apostolette?
I'm Apostolette, Reverend Pamela M. Pinckney Butts. I'm the pastor and founder visionary of No Fear But God Fellowship Assembly Church Ministries. On August the 6th of this year, I will be celebrating 20 years of one of my church ministries. And this evening when I came, before I go to why I came council president, and I hate to see the chief had to leave. I never stand here on a guess. And the statement I made in terms of the Vanderveer situation, the statistics of mass incarceration and the arrest records of black people and the displacement of women and children will reflect that everything I said is a fact. I just want us to move forward where they correct that, and I'm not here to fight with anybody. I'm here to face facts. I came here this evening. I was speaking at Cuyahoga County Board of Elections today, and I told them today that the violence in voting stops with me. We're going to have to bring this violence to an end. And I'm a bit burdened this evening in my heart when I see that you're going to allow guns in the classroom, more guns in the classroom. We took prayer out, I see you shaking your head. We took prayer out of the school, and for even to be an option is a bother to me. We took prayer out of the school and put pistols in the schools. We took prayer out of the school, and children don't have pens, crayons, computers, don't have adequate food. But we're considering teaching teachers how to use guns? What is wrong with this picture? I say to you, we're giving our children a mixed message. Don't bring a gun to school, but when you come to school, I'm going to greet you with a gun. What's wrong here? It's time for peace, you all. It's time to put prayer back at the helm. I know police officers are even terrified to even step out on some things nowadays because our minds are focused on the wrong thing. I have asked that people would join with me on an anti-profanity initiative and a pants pull-up initiative and a cover-up initiative, because when you speak, what you speak comes into fruition. I came this evening because we're preparing our country and this world for a war that we don't even need to have. I came this evening.
Apostle, I'm so sorry, but your time is up, okay?
Yes, and I would like for you, Council President, and I to really sit down and talk to discuss why I come here and sacrifice my time
Absolutely.
to come here along with anyone that would like to sit at the table with me. It's time for peace, you all. I say that in the name of Jesus Christ.
Thank you.
My number is 330-366-2728.
Thank you, Apostolate. I just also want to point out the chief didn't leave. He's standing right in the back of the chambers. Carson Barnes, I didn't see him. Is he here in the audience? No? Okay. Attorney John Sharp?
Attorney John Sharp, Callis Tower, Akron, Ohio. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. We are the Coalition for a Safe Community, and we are here to pressure your administration to approve those grant applications you have received. Many important people in Akron are impatient about the state of Akron black business. And some of those people are Vernon Sykes, Tara Mosley, Afraid Everett, Judy Hill, Ronald Country Jackson, Russ Neal, Bishop Samuel Hampton II, our advisor, Gregory Harrison, Antioch Baptist Church, and Linda Amobian, at-large councilwoman. Judy Hill was taking a application for a complaint with NAACP, and the man cursed her out. She referred that person to the coalition, and our first vice president, Stephen Muhammad, took the report. Mr. Muhammad is, written a book called The Loss of a Committed Generation. He's also the head of the Nation of Islam in Akron. Our second vice president is Johnson Buddy Stevens. He's a landlord who has many inner city properties that need grant money to repair and maintain them. John Beatty is a very important person to the coalition. Reggie Boyer, who has Boyer's Bump Shop on Arlington Street, needs his grant money so he can keep his equipment running. The coalition is an aggressive fighting machine against racism and discrimination. We comfort and advise the victims. The community is watching. They are beginning to notice. We are putting together an army of disadvantaged and neglected voters who are learning to speak up in their own behalf. We are the Coalition for a Safe Community. We meet at the Ed Davis Center at 11 o'clock Saturday, June 25th. June 25. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Sharp. Gerald Greger.
Good evening. My name is Gerald Gregory, 649 Fultz. I've been living on Fultz since 1977. We talking about this gun violence. I think I may have found a solution I was talking to you about. I basically want to open up a gun club, basically. What we need to do is teach these kids how to handle guns, because right now we're going to reach where they'll be allowed to carry guns if they're 21 years old. It's going to be terrible. But the gun play that's in my neighborhood is unimaginable. You know what I'm saying? I've been there since '77. But the solution I have is I'm going to need some officers, which I talked with a few officers. They agree too. But I need to get them where they can learn how to shoot, teach them how to shoot, and basically teach them how to not take guns as a threat. They're going to have to use it as a recreational situation. You see what I'm saying? It would be more, how can I put it, I would know the individuals that would participate. I would know their names. I would know the facial recognition. I'm trying to put together something to organize this gun situation. Taking it away is not going to do it, because they're going to steal one and use it. I mean, law is only good for people who obey the law, but the ones who are using it, they don't care about the law. See what I'm saying? But I do have a solution, and the reason I think I'm a prize candidate for it, because years ago, I picked up the newspaper, and which I always do on mornings, and I would go to Ann's and sit down and eat. And I opened up the newspaper and I looked in there in the Reed State and Regions, and it said, 200 leaflets placed in Kenmore mailboxes. You black African American, you Jews, get ready for a coming race war. When I read that, trust me, I went to the Summer County Fairground and I bought 2 of everything, see what I'm saying? So I've always had assault weapons, you know. I mean, I never use them as against anyone, but I always collected them. But when you walk in that Summit County Fairground, you got this big giant swastika back there. And I asked the one white guy, I said, hey, that's where Hitler stuff is. That's the good stuff, huh? And I go back there, give me 2 of them. I mean, I'm not a felon. I could buy guns. But we're going to have to teach our people how to respect them instead of taking them away. You know what I'm saying? And if you, like me, I would pay $100, $50, $500 for the best shot. But by the time they get through using their bullets, trying to shoot and win those prizes, they're not going to have bullets to shoot in the street. See what I'm saying? And basically, I'm a big influence. You people don't know me, but my community do. You know what I'm saying? I'm huge in my community, man. You know what I'm saying? Very highly respected. And I got to use that as a tool, you know what I'm saying, to stop this violence.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gregory. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Harrington Hargrove?
Good evening, Council. My name is Harrington Hargrove. I live at 1008 Laurel Avenue, Akron, 44307. And I'm here in reference to the economic condition of the black community, and especially in my community in Ward 3, really the whole city, because we're all in need. And these ARPA dollars, Madam President, you said Ward 3 is going to receive a portion of those ARPA dollars. I would like to know if I could sit at the table when this is being done. And there's a few other people in our community who would like to sit at the table because we have plans to help uplift the communities. And you have to include us. This council can't do it by themselves. And so you know what it takes to develop a community. It takes funding. It takes a willingness. And so I stand before you asking you to will yourself to do something for us. It shouldn't be that difficult. We talk about what's going on in the city, but we don't do a whole lot. And it's up to this council to move us forward. If we could do it on our own, it would have been done. But we can't write any checks. It's up to the city to do this. A willingness, the love for your fellow man. So this is what I'm asking, and I definitely would like to sit at the table when we talk about ARPA dollars. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hargrove. Reverend John Beatty?
Madam President, members of the council, my name is John Beatty, B-E-A-T-Y, at 2047 Wyndham Road, Ward 8. A couple of weeks ago, my Ward 8 councilman corrected me on a couple of things I said during my 3-minute public comment to you, the members of City Council. I appreciate my councilman very much, who was brave enough to correct one of his constituents when the constituent doesn't have his facts straight. That constituent is me. He shared with me and you that the young lady who shared with you that when a prayer is said, she feels left out because it is always a Christian prayer in the name of Jesus Christ, my Lord. I thought she was Muslim, but thanks to Shamas, I found out she was a secular Sikh. According to CNN, Sikhism is a monotheistic faith, like the Christian faith, the Jewish faith, that believes in equality and service to others. Their motto is, "Everyone is the same." Sikhs believe in freedom of religion, community service, and inclusiveness. At temples, or what they call gurdwaras, where Sikhs hold worship services, everyone is welcome. You all can come and be equal. I have enjoyed that welcome at the Sikh Gurdwara in Richfield after a massacre of Sikhs, and the assailant, gun assailant, thought she was Muslim. Doing good deeds is important for you to be with God after death, according to the Sikhism religion. Sikhs believe that if you don't live a life full of good deeds, you will be reborn and repeat the circle of life and death. I don't agree with that. I believe you get one chance to do good deeds and to act busy, because I do believe that Jesus is coming. There are 25 million Sikhs around the world. About 700,000 of them live in the U.S. Most Sikhs live in India. They are taught two important things in addition to serving others and serving God: work hard and never beg. Sikhism emerged about 500 years ago in what is now India. The other correction I want to make, I'll have to wait for another moment because I'm aware that my time is running out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reverend Beatty. Deborah Calhoun.
Good evening, Madam President, and good evening, Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Deborah Calhoun, and I live at 824 Store Avenue here in Akron, Ohio, in the 4th Ward. One of many of the organizations that I belong to is the Akron African American Cultural Association, and I also have the pleasure of teaching at Kent State University in the Department of Africana Studies. And I'm here today as an educator. And I want to address this today. I think our city needs a citywide initiative that will educate us about our city's diverse populations. And I'm saying this in light of the recent events that have kind of taken hold of our country just in the past month. And I am just absolutely just undone by it. And I want to argue that our residents, our young people, are at a critical point in our city. They can either be part of the good or they can be part of bad. But we as adults have the obligation to decide and help them decide and chart the path that they need to go. Because if we don't give them an option, they're going to make an option. And we see that. And I live in the 4th Ward, and I'm tired of seeing memorial walls in my community. I'm done with it. I'm done with seeing them on Tara Samples' ward. I'm just done with it. I'm over it. And I'm a parent, I'm a grandparent, I'm a taxpayer, lifelong resident of Akron. I want to say a little bit about the African Cultural Festival that I help organize. I'm the co-chair of one of the committees. The organization has brought in, over the past 30 years, $750,000 in economic entrepreneurship into our city, with 80% of our vendors being local. 90% of our service providers who we pay come from Akron. So there's a reciprocal turnaround of the money that we're given and supported, that we give it right back to the community. This year, we want to focus on our youth, the over 3,000 youth who are homeless in Summit County. We want to help those youth identify and get job training skills, to access financial institutions that they don't have access to connect with health services that we will have on deck ready to help serve them, and more importantly, or in addition, to have youth entrepreneurship, youth vendors, so they can be part of that economic activity that I spoke of. But this year, we want to also have a teen talk, to have our students speak from the stage on what are their issues that they are dealing with, and how we as the service providers, as the stakeholders, as the politicians, help bring that into fruition, because right now I don't think I hear our youth voice being talked about in a meaningful way that they can impact policy, and that's my point. We also want to have and make folks know, I think, and be aware of that this event reaches underserved communities, folks that the health people cannot reach. So I ask that our city take these opportunities, or take the opportunity to investigate where we are falling short, because we truly are falling short. And I'm speaking from the other end of the spectrum, because Akron can easily become a Valdez, Texas.
Thank you
The
so
missing
much,
link
Mrs.
is
Calhoun. I'm so
education.
sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public comment period for this evening. We'll now move into our committee assignments. Planning and Economic Development, Councilman Fusco.
1.
Health and Social Services, Councilwoman Amobian. Parks and Rec, Councilman Lombardo.
145.
Public Utilities and Green Committee, Councilman Freeman.
245.
Rules Committee, Councilman Freeman.
Subject to call.
Public Service, Councilwoman Mosley. Public Safety, Councilman Kamer.
215.
Budget and Finance, Councilman Freeman.
3 p.m.
Housing and Neighborhood Assistance, Councilman Fusco.
Subject to call.
Okay, thank you so much. So before Good and Welfare, just want to give a reminder that on next Monday, we will have an ARPA update. So just want to make sure that you are aware of that. Is there anything else coming before council at this time? Councilwoman Mosley?
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to stand briefly and talk about the flock cameras that we just voted and passed on, just in relation to a couple text messages that I received prior to coming this evening. And I do want to say on the record, as the councilwoman of Ward 5, which most of my young millennials call the 5, I understand their concerns about Big Brother. I understand the uneasiness about cameras in the neighborhood, but I also see and hear what is going on in the neighborhood. I do believe I probably have the highest homicide rate in the city in my ward. So I get it and I understand, but something has to be done. We do not have time for more time. We just don't. We can't sit and keep having meetings and conversations, and kids are dying every day. I just had a family member, brother-in-law was killed, and the day of his funeral, they invited me to a vigil for him where 3 people were shot and one of the boys died. I knew his mother. We don't have time. So if me voting on cameras going into the neighborhoods and give those who don't live in my ward some uneasiness, then I want you to be uneasy, because I'm for the cameras, I'm for ring cameras, I'm for substations in these neighborhoods, because I am watching the young people in the ward I represent die. I'm watching elderly people have to lay on the floors because of gunfire. I watched my own house get shot up, not once, but twice, from gunfire. So I make no apologies for my vote, because it is time. We don't have time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me get the easy ones off first. Family event. This weekend, Maple Valley Merchants Association will be hosting a community weekend in Ward 4 on Friday night. We're having a movie night. It is a family movie, but parental discretion is advised. The movie we're showing is King Richard. It speaks to what we're talking about. And then, of course, the rest of the festivities, thanks to all those involved with the Maple Valley Merchants Association. On this, at my ward meeting tomorrow, I've gotten a lot of calls from residents, especially seniors, who want to know about minor home repair. Drew Hall, Chief Operating Officer for Habitat for Humanity, will be there talking about their senior home repair program. Many of us on council have gotten literature on that. On Thursday, I hear my colleague about the cameras. As I said, I put aside my Big Brother fears. I understand why we need them, but in the community, we understand the thing that's going to change this is we've got to build relationships, as Mr. Gregory said. We may all have different ways of going about it, but we've got to build relationships. I'd like to say that the Akron Bike Club rides every Tuesday and Thursday of the month. They meet down at Summit Lake. Starting this Thursday, every second and fourth Thursday of the month, neighborhood dads and men in Ward 4 will be riding. We meet at Bookto High School at 7 o'clock Thursday. And the whole thing is to ride the community, have a presence, and establish relationships with our young people. I say that because I remember we were supposed to have park ambassadors at all of our parks. I don't know where we stand with that. This is a part when we talk about our investing our ARPA dollars. Not that we're going, we need to try everything, but nothing is going to be sustainable without us establishing and reconnecting and having relationships with our young people. So I'd like to know where we are with our park ambassadors, but for those who want to be a part of the solution and just get some exercise and establish relationships, Ward 4, this Thursday, 7 o'clock, Bookto, we're going to go on a community bike ride. Now, I got two more things. One, last week 2 weeks ago, I made mention about assessing our residents. And I did check with my colleagues in Toledo. I checked with my colleagues in Youngstown and Cleveland. They do not assess their residents for paving their streets. In Toledo, they do like we did with issue 4. They pass a levy. So it's more equitable across the board. And I'm saying that because for me, when I look at when we talk about equity, it's holistic. And right now, the way it lies, we put the burden on the homeowners who may not be the ones that are using those streets the most. And so I'm going to do some more research. I reached out to Mr. Fricker just to see, but I want to share that. And then last but not least, we have been having discussions about equity and what that word means. And I know that challenges some people, but I was pleased, but I was also concerned during the Interbelt discussion when the words restitution and reparations were used. Those are words that are being discussed across this country, and people, it's challenging. We've been talking about reparations since the 80s, or before, since the 70s. And restitution, if you follow what happened in Evanston, we cannot have these discussions without having definitions and understanding what they mean. So we had gotten some stuff on equity, we've gotten some definitions. I'd asked for mine to be printed out. I would like for us to have that booklet printed out and have those definitions online so our constituents can see those, so that we can come to an understanding about equity. Because if we're going to deal with the Interbelt and start talking about restitution and reparations, we're not even there yet if we don't even have an understanding of equity. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Neal. Is there anything else coming? Councilman Freeman?
The ARPA update, will that be during one of our regular committee meetings next week, or?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
And it'll probably be in your committee budget.
Okay, just wanting to check and see. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else coming before council? We have a motion on the floor. If there are no objections, meeting adjourned.
This concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Margot Somerville, President of Council, presiding.